Well, what is up, all of our liberty-loving friends? This is another fantastic episode of Good Morning Liberty. My name is Nate Thurston, and sitting across from me right now is the one, the only Mr. Charles Chuck Thompson. Chuck, how's it going today?
It's the best day of the week.
It is the best day of the week.
For most people. That's what they think.
All week we put off making fun of idiots.
That's
we
not
hardly
true.
ever
We
make
don't.
fun of anyone.
No.
You know, it's all rainbows and unicorns all week. And then finally on Fridays, we get to let loose and finally make fun of some people's dumb ideas.
This is the day where people who are beholden to the greedy capitalists, peak capitalism, they look forward to this day where they can cut out of work early, shut their laptop early, slam it closed.
Slam it.
Until Monday morning.
Exactly.
You get 2.5 fresh days of whatever you want to do. Probably thinking about next week's work.
Yeah, probably. I'm going up to Illinois to see some family.
And on top of that,
I'll be doing that.
You get an episode of the dumbest things that the good people have found across the interwebs.
Most of the dumbs this week came from the live group, which we also call the Fed Haters Club. JoinGML.com.
Look, if you've got hate in your heart, you let it out.
Yeah. If you got dumb in your heart, let it out too. And so they post those in that channel, and then we put them all together. We have 11 submissions that made it to the final cut today. I think 8 of them came from the Fed Haters Club. So thanks so much for those submissions today. They're going to vote at the end of the episode. We'll see who wins Dumb Bleep of the Week. They'll go to the tournament at the end of the year, Dumb Bleep of the Year, and then we will crown the dumbest thing of the year of our Lord, 2024, and we will send that person a trophy that says they were the dumbest person of 2024. And I'm sure they will open it and display it on their mantle as soon as it arrives. This is what's going to happen.
Amen.
All right, Charlie, do you understand the rules?
I do.
Okay. Well, that's normally you say no, so I guess we finally explained it. Number 1, PSA, public service announcement for everyone, just so you know, okay? Climate change fueled heat is especially deadly when mixed with meth in the summer months, okay? So we're getting this information out there to the people before you think, like back in the good old days, like 20 years ago, before climate change, when you used to go out on the sidewalk and do meth. I know there's a bunch of you listening right now, and you're about to shoot your meth. How do you do meth? You shoot it, I guess. Is that what you do?
Smoke it.
Smoke meth. You
Snort
shoot.
it.
I don't. You do all kinds of
Shoot
stuff. These people, they don't care. They'll take it anyway. Okay. Now, back in the good old days, you used to just do
live
your
group
meth.
Said summers are for fentanyl. Winter is for meth.
Yes. That's the point here. Meth does bad things. Now, that used to be fine, but nowadays it's dangerous for people doing meth out there because
of climate change,
human-caused climate change.
Yep.
Just so you know. On just one sweltering day during the hottest June on record in Phoenix, a 38-year-old man collapsed under a freeway bridge, and a 41-year-old woman was found slumped outside a business. Both had used methamphetamine before dying from an increasingly dangerous mix of soaring temperatures and stimulants. Meth is showing up more often as a factor in the deaths of people who died from heat-related causes.
I wonder why.
I feel like it was the meth, but I guess it's the heat or whatever. According to an Associated Press analysis of data from the U.S., the CDC, death certificates show about 1 in 5 heat-related deaths in recent years involved meth. And that's interesting because we hear about heat-related deaths going up because of climate change. I wonder what happens if you remove the meth. Are heat-related deaths actually down?
Looks to be about
right now.
You would have a 20% reduction.
Yeah.
If there's 1 in 5.
You probably would. So if deaths aren't up by more than that from heat, then you just take out the meth. But you see, we want to go back to a world where you can safely do your meth on the streets, on the sidewalks of Phoenix, Arizona.
Nate from the Fed Haters Club said, "Oh no, not the meth heads. Climate change is truly indiscriminate."
Take my eyes, but not the meth heads. Now listen, you should be free to do whatever drug you want to put in your body as long as you're not harming someone else. You can harm yourself. That's totally fine. We do not recommend it. We do not endorse meth. unless it's the kind that I take in pill form every single morning. What do you think keeps me up, Slick? That's what I take every single day. Meth is more common in heat-related deaths. I was quoting Wedding Crashers, you went to. Okay.
Yeah.
Meth is more common in heat-related deaths than the deadly opioid fentanyl. As a stimulant, it increases body temperature, impairs the brain's ability to regulate body heat, and makes it harder for the heart to compensate for extreme heat. So
increases your blood pressure and increases your heart rate.
You just can't.
It's a stimulant.
You just can't do meth safely on the streets anymore like you used to be able to because of human-caused climate change. Okay, let's move to dumb bleep number 2. This one will be pretty easy. Like I said, there's 11, but
it's funny how they didn't blame
actually 11.
They didn't blame meth first.
No,
it was climate change first.
It's climate change.
Meth.
Yeah. Plus, the meth is fine. It's when you add in climate change that's the problem.
Yeah.
Kamala Harris called in. She was talking about people price gouging. Okay. Now, one thing I saw was she called into the Weather Channel, which when you're looking at the Weather Channel to see whether or not you're going to die, you typically want a presidential candidate to call in and talk to you about things. This is a clip from CNN where she's talking about price gouging in the wake of Hurricane Milton. And all I can come up with is apparently she wants people to go without any products or services. She doesn't want people to get anything at all. She just wants it all to be gone. And for you to not be able to find something, even if it is more expensive. But here is her talking to business owners who are considering following the laws of supply and demand.
Helene. Finally, as the president mentioned, to any company or individual that might use this crisis to exploit people who are desperate for help through illegal fraud or price gouging, whether it be at the gas pump, the airport, or the hotel counter, know that we are monitoring these behaviors and the situation on the ground very closely, and anyone taking advantage of consumers will be held accountable. The bottom line is this hurricane poses an extreme danger, and we urge everyone in Florida to take
They are watching. No, I just can't stand for this kind of stuff.
Big brother.
Yeah.
Or big sister.
I can't stand for it because she's like, well, they're exploiting people, by raising these prices. Technically, they're exploiting them right now, currently, in areas everywhere where they use market pricing, I guess, because it's determined by supply and demand. And when a storm comes through or a hurricane comes through, the same laws of supply and demand apply. It's why it's so important to even defend something like what people call price gouging. They give it a name like price gouging because that's bad. You don't want to gouge.
Fraud.
Gouging is bad. And no one likes to be gouged. Who's ever like, oh, I got gouged today. It was awesome.
Yeah.
No one
What a
says
great
that.
day.
Great day.
What happened today, son? Well, I got gouged. School. It was awesome.
Good. It's not good when you use that word gouging. But really, they're just responding to supply and demand. And when the supply is really low, for instance, a truck full of fuel can't get to your gas station for like a week or two.
To replenish the
supply. So then the supply is short. Well, it's like a shortage of those things. But the demand, it could stay the same or it could even go up because everyone's trying to fill up their tanks so they can get to safety. Okay? And so they're trying to fill up their tanks.
To have enough gas to run their generator, depending on how much time
generators.
They think the power is going to be out.
And so you want to ration it by raising the price and making sure that people only buy exactly what they need. Okay? If they need 10 gallons to make it through this amount of time, or if they need 10 gallons to drive up to northern Florida to get to safety or something like that in their car, you want to make sure that that's all that they get. And that's the way that you actually ration these things. Now, they would like everyone to be given these ration cards or someone from the government to be standing there with a clipboard writing down how much gas you're allowed to buy and all that. Like we had toilet paper rationing and stuff during COVID, can't buy more than one or whatever the numbers were. They want to do that, but it needs to be rationed by price. And so when people make these arguments, what they're saying is, I would rather people not be able to get this good than for people.
Well, no, that's not it. I'd rather for a small amount of people to completely destroy the supply so that it's not available to anyone else.
Yeah.
For the time period in which the supply can't be replenished.
Which could lead to people dying. So what she's actually saying is that I want people to die because I don't like prices to go up. Well,
and they flipped the moral high ground because, in people's minds, I understand you're going to the gas station and you're like, oh my God, $20 a gallon. This is ridiculous. Because in your mind, you've been paying, $2 to $5.
Yeah.
And so you're like, what? This is crazy. But you have to realize that they've taken the moral high ground, but really the moral high ground resides with the basic laws of economics and the rudimentary law of supply and demand, and that it's actually most beneficial for the most amount of people to be able to regulate scarce resources by raising the price.
You want the market to regulate
and that
those
helps
resources.
The most amount of people.
It does. It does. And what people really have to realize is that, oh, this is crazy. I was paying $3 a gallon yesterday, and right now it's $20 a gallon. You were paying supply and demand based pricing both times. When it's $3 a gallon, are they price gouging you? Like, is that what's happening? Are you price gouging them? Were you price gouging them during COVID when you didn't want to pay more than $1.80 a gallon? On average around the country, was that you price gouging? Like, no, that was supply and demand. It goes both ways. We were fine when it got really cheap during COVID, and you got to be fine when it gets really expensive when there is a low supply and a really high demand. And when you refuse to make arguments in favor of that, that gets really dangerous. When you're scared to argue in favor of supply and demand, it doesn't have to be moral. It doesn't have to be a moral high ground. It's just science. It's just economics. That's all. It's just supply and demand. That's the great thing about free market economics. It doesn't even have to be moral. It does the most moral thing just by default. It does it. That's great. But it doesn't have to be because the gas station owner wants to help the most amount of people get the gas that they need. It just happens naturally, which is great that the most moral outcome is the byproduct of free market economics. But of course, 35 states have laws against price gouging because
good discussion happened in the Fed Haters Club, by the way. Someone says the goal is to ration the amount. They should just ration the amount. And the response to that was, but how do you determine how much is the amount you can buy?
The different people need different amounts.
Yeah. The way that we determine that in the market is through pricing.
Yeah.
The invisible hand, so to speak.
Right?
The
thing, you can't decide that everyone needs the same amount. Maybe someone has family up in central Georgia that they want to drive to, and they need more gas than the one who has family in Tallahassee or something like that they want to drive to. And so those two people need different amounts of gas. And the way that you determine that is prices. That's just the way. That's the way that we do it all the time. It's the way we're doing it right now. There's no reason for it to change. Dumbly number 3 is going to be called photo ops. It's really just the fakeness that happens during these photo ops. We're sticking on the hurricane here for a minute. Did you see this one? Luckily,
by the way, did you have Kamala Harris's hot mic situation during that little CNN thing?
No, I didn't have when she was doing the briefing with FEMA and all that.
No, it was she was on that same panel.
Oh, was that? Yeah, that panel. No, I didn't bring that.
I did see something. I saw something. I don't know if it's true or not, but she said something about this is a live interview.
Yeah, it was her staffers trying to give her questions and talking points and basically trying to tell her what to say while she was on a live interview.
Yeah.
And so she covered her mouth to do it. It's like I'm on a live interview. You know, like that was gonna, make it to where no one could hear her. What's funny is she thinks that they could hear her say that, but not the microphone that picks up all the noise that happens when you're talking.
Yeah.
Those are the same things.
It would have been better to cover up the microphone,
Yeah, you want to cover the mic, not your mouth. That's the way that you want to do it.
It would have been funny if you saw her put on a mask.
Yeah. Now magically the microphone can't hear me, but the people can. That's the way you should do it. So she was helping. She joined the Hurricane Helene relief efforts. I don't know if the dumb really goes to Kamala Harris here, because you sort of have to do these things as a politician.
Mm-hmm.
Like I saw Trump throwing out rolls of paper towels into a crowd. It was like, oh my God, if he wouldn't have been there to throw those rolls of paper towels out, those people wouldn't have been able to clean up their mess on their countertop, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think the dumb really goes to people, because they only do this because for some reason voters want to see this.
Yeah.
And so that's where my dumb submission.
Like everybody on the
nomination
right
goes
is
to.
so happy that Trump showed up first.
Yeah. Like that's important.
Yeah.
Why does it matter?
A lot of times it causes more harm than good, because
Yeah.
you have to block off roads, and like you've got Secret Service everywhere, and you can't travel freely.
Mm-hmm.
Like it actually causes a
You ever
disruption.
tried to drive through Nashville when Trump was in town?
You
They gotta
can't.
close down roads all over the
Yeah.
place. It's a mess when
When
these
I-
people come to town.
When they're in town, I just stay home.
Yeah.
You know? I don't want to go anywhere.
But it's like they do it because somehow it scores political points with the people. And so it just kind of seems like the people are dumb. But here she is packing Ziploc bags with toothpaste and deodorant and everything. So here's that happening. Now answer me this. Is she needed to do this?
No, look at there's all these
There's
people
other
standing in
people
the
standing
background.
around watching her.
This must be a union charity.
Yeah. It's not necessary.
Yeah.
She doesn't need to be there. And she brings all this, she brings all of her Secret Service with her, and there's people with cameras there doing all this. And so, like I said, it's not really on Kamala for this video, because it's something that a politician has to do because the people demand it,
They're
because
obligated.
they're so dumb that like seeing this makes them feel better. Like this person cares. And it's kind of a great representation of everything the government does, because this person cares because they're doing that right there, but they're not needed to do that. They're not actually helping you by being there doing this. In fact, they're actually hurting you more than likely. They made the entire process slower than what it would have been, but you feel better because they're showing you that they are helping you. And so this right here is just a microcosm of everything that the government does, is trying to show you that they're helping while they're actually hurting you. So there's that video, and this one's unrelated to the hurricane. The next one, we'll just do, this one's still called photo ops. So we're still on dumb bleep number 3, I think. I'm sick of people acting like politicians are real people. I'm sick of people acting like they're normal people. And I'm sick of them trying to pretend like they're normal people. Just admit it. Like, you had a cushy life. Everything was fine. You grew up in a middle class family. Okay.
Yep.
You've never used a shovel a day in your life. Okay. Can we?
That's okay. Not everybody has to use shovels.
You clearly never helped your husband bury one of his hookers. Okay. She never helped with that.
Yeah.
We can tell. And so I'm sick of people pretending like they're real people. Watch her use a shovel.
Killed 1,200, resulting in 250 Israelis getting kidnapped. 100 of them remain captive to this very day. Well, more to this.
Now, Doug, he's buried enough hookers to know how to use a shovel, okay? We know that.
What is she doing? I never know what
It's
she's
the
doing.
most awkward thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And I feel like maybe your staff needs to be like, hey, do you know how to use a shovel?
If not, let me show you how to just hold it real quick.
There's cameras all out there, and you're going to be using like a legit shovel out here. Have you ever held one in your entire life? Has that ever happened? You know?
Yeah.
And just the whole fakeness around, like they're planting a tree. You could have had some other guy plant that tree, okay? They don't need to plant a tree. That's not proof that they care about whatever it is they're commemorating because they're planting a tree right now. It's all the fakeness around all these ceremonies. Oh, he laid a wreath.
Yeah.
He cares, you know? He didn't need to do that. It's ridiculous.
Oh,
These people are
man.
fake, y'all.
And the whole time, the Fed Haters Club is still going on about price gouging, which is nice.
I'm not watching it.
See this, content that you can get being part of the Fed Haters Club. Join GML.com
You could be having a completely different conversation from what we're talking about.
and be learning
right now.
from each other.
Yeah.
You know, it's amazing. It's where ideas go.
Yeah.
Free speech.
I haven't watched.
It's a beautiful thing.
I haven't been reading, but Magoo said, I think store owners should be able to price gouge or ration as they see fit. Well, they should be able to do either one. If they want to ration, that's fine. If they want to ration right now for no reason, there's no hurricane and there's no emergency and they want to ration, that's fine.
In fact, a lot of them do ration, by the way. Or they have certain rules, like I have to spend at least $5 on my credit card, or they're going to charge me a 2% surcharge.
Yeah.
Because apparently to them, if I spend less than $5, it's not worth the transaction cost.
I haven't had anyone tell me that. Like, I bought a pack of gum, with a cart. No one ever tells me there's a
that's because you go to the major retailers, probably.
No, I go to like the crappy BP gas station on the corner.
No, they've got a limit. I bet there's a little Post-it card.
I went to the one that told you they wouldn't take your $100 bill or whatever it was one time. Remember, didn't you have someone who wouldn't take a bill?
That was that BP on the corner of Murfreesboro Road and Hobson Pike.
Yeah, that's where it was.
They did.
That's the same one. And you were like, "This says this is legal tender for all debts payable," right here on the back. For all
debts, public and private. And currently, since I have your sody in my hand that I took off your shelf, this is a debt. I'm trying to service this debt. That the United States,
conversations a libertarian has with people at a gas station.
Yeah.
All right, number 4. This is I put this chart here just to remind me what the gist of this is, but this is going to be about the Chicago mayor and the situation with the teachers union and all of that. Now, there is a clip from the Chicago mayor going around. They've got, if you can imagine this, they've got a $505 million deficit, okay, in the school district, Chicago, which is tough to understand.
That's hard to imagine.
It's hard to imagine that happening. They want to take out a $300 million high interest loan because the teachers union wants a bunch of raises and stuff, and they want to hire more people and all that, but they don't have the money to do it. And so now the mayor is deciding that they're going to take out a $300 million high interest short-term loan, basically so they can pay off whatever it is that the teachers union, the Chicago teachers union, is asking for right now. And there's people, if you can imagine, that are saying that's not fiscally responsible to take out this high interest loan just because the Chicago teachers union has you over a barrel. You, guy who used to be an organizer for the Chicago teachers union, who's deciding to do this. And he says, this is Mayor Brandon Johnson of Chicago, who replaced Beetlejuice. Remember Beetlejuice?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, he replaced her. He says that this is just like slavery.
The so-called fiscally responsible stewards are making the same argument when our people wanted to be liberated and emancipated in this country. The argument was you can't free black people because it would be too expensive. They said that it would be fiscally irresponsible.
All right, so there's that clip. I think there's another one that had a little bit more in it, but that gets you the basic idea. So because people are saying that the $300 million short-term high-interest loan to pay off the teachers union is fiscally irresponsible, that's just like when slaveholders, people in the government said that it would be too expensive to free all of the slaves. Basically the same, okay?
Same.
They don't want to free the black people. He wants to free black people, Charlie, by getting them into a $300 million high-interest short-term loan, okay? Which, if that's the case, we've been freeing black people for a long time. But he wants to get into that, and that's how he's going to emancipate these people. Now, the chart that I showed you that was on the slide over here, I'll talk to you a little bit about what our public schools are doing. This has been going around a lot on X recently. On this chart, it shows you from 2000 to 2021 or 22-ish. And it shows you that the amount of students has increased by 5%. The amount of teachers has increased by 10%, twice as much as the students. The amount of principals has increased by 39%. And the amount of administrative staff has increased by 95%.
That's where all the money's going.
And that is where the money is going. That is absolutely correct. So I brought in a few articles here. There's the staffing in Chicago public schools has increased 20% as the number of students dropped 10.5%. So get this, the number of students overall in the schools went down by 10.5%. But the number of staff members somehow increased by 20% during this time.
The problem is they don't have enough money.
No, there's just not enough money for the schools.
Mm-hmm.
They pay $30,000 per student for Chicago schools. 30 grand per student. So it got to be close to the highest in the nation. Okay. Brought in this article. I saw a lot of this posted by Corey DeAngelis, who's great at this stuff. Let's see. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson appointed the new Board of Education on Monday. This news comes just a few days after the entire 7-member Chicago Board of Education made an unprecedented decision to resign in protest following pressure from the mayor and the Chicago Teachers Union. The union is demanding more resources from taxpayers for raises and benefits, even though Chicago public schools already spend about $30,000 per student per year. The school district is in the middle of a financial crisis and faces a $500 million budget shortfall. The mayor, a former union organizer whose campaign was heavily supported by the teachers union, suggested that the school district take out a $300 million short-term high-interest loan to placate the teachers union. And of course, the people who were coming after him, saying that this is a bad idea, he said, are making the same arguments that slaveholders made during emancipation. And that's the argument that we got to use. That's really the dumb part about this. And by the way, the Chicago Teachers Union is currently being sued because they will not disclose where their money is actually going. And so they just keep asking for more and more money. They are supposed to disclose where the money is going. This is a public union. They're supposed to disclose it. They refuse to do it. And now there is a lawsuit against them trying to force them to show where the money is actually going.
Nothing nefarious is happening here.
No,
yeah.
Nothing to see here.
We care about kids.
Just for the kids.
We care about kids.
That's what it is. Okay. Sorry, I keep explaining these, but they have I didn't put like the exact explanation here.
I'm fine being color commentary.
Yeah, you're kind of, I'm like, well, what's Charlie going to make of this? I'm going to have to say what this is right now because it makes no sense. Okay.
Yeah.
I saw this post from Nina Turner saying thank you. And it's in response to someone making a donation to something called ADOS Advocacy Foundation. They pay $100 for reparations. Okay, so I saw this and I was like, that's cool.
Yeah.
You know, you just do it privately. You got an organization collecting money.
Taking a playbook
people.
right out of Matt Walsh's.
Yeah, you just...
Right out of Matt Walsh's playbook.
You collect the money and then you find the people that need the reparations and you pay it out, and you got this kind of private system of people paying out the reparations, you know?
That's fine.
And then my first reaction to that was, well, that's not going to count when the government decides that you need to pay reparations. You're not going to be like, well, look, I literally paid. Like, imagine if I had an extra like 20 grand laying around and I like found a black guy who needed reparations and I gave it to him. And then when the government came to me, they're like, you got to pay reparations, dude, you're white. I'm like, I paid reparations. Look, I literally took this money, gave to that guy because he's black and needed reparations. So I paid, I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, those people, that guy over there, he's not good. But it goes even further than this because my assumptions were all wrong about this ADOS. They don't pay out money to anyone. They just lobby Congress to pass a reparations bill. That's all they do. Just see that I had to dig into their website a little bit.
On the people who work on it, they need a salary.
They got to get paid.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
They got to do their media campaigns, stuff like that. They got to get the word out, and they got to pay people to go and lobby Congress to try and get this passed. And so instead of taking money who want to pay reparations or do whatever and like paying it out to people directly so you're actually paying reparations, they take it and then they lobby Congress to force other people to pay reparations.
Somebody in the Fed Haters Club said I used to buy weed from a black guy. Does that count as my reparations?
You could have bought it from a white guy.
And you did, yeah.
So did you choose it because he was black? That is the question. If you chose him because he was black, then I think that counts as reparations. I'm pretty sure.
That's fantastic.
Went to their page like, your contribution is critical to our efforts to fight for reparations and transformative black and a transformative black agenda. Right now, we're currently on a white agenda. I want to do a black agenda instead. We thank you for your support and commitment to the fight for our reparative justice claim. And
this is a foundation set up by Matt Walsh, for sure.
It's gotta be. It's gotta be. Did you see this? That was number 5. This is number 6. Did you see this going around?
No.
God, I'm trying to let you explain one.
I didn't see this. I saw portions of the 60 Minutes interview.
Yeah, we talked about it on Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah.
This week. So,
but they keep refining the versions.
Well, so they edited her answer, and it's an interesting problem because they released both of them. Like the clip that we played was released by 60 Minutes, and they aired it on TV in its full version. But this has been a really big thing. I don't know where this clip is going around on. Maybe CBS posted it separately, and they're trying to get people to see that clip and not the other one, or 60 Minutes posted it separately on their page so this would be the one going around on social media. But it's just not the case. Let's hear the difference in these two things.
Somebody from the Fed Haters Club is saying it's the commercial for the interview. The one they edited.
Okay, I gotcha.
I guess a word salad commercial wouldn't
grab your attention.
People to tune in as much.
Yeah, here we go.
It seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
Well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen.
I just want to be clear that she just said the work that we have done has resulted in things that were the result of the work that we have done. Mm-hmm. Just before we get to the other one.
Just to put it simply.
Yeah.
Happen in the region.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
We're not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need.
Oh my God. Even that one is terrible. We don't even have to do the other one. We're not going to be clear about where we stand on the need in terms of
what the United States needs.
She's not saying anything.
No.
At all. Did you see the new poly market odds, by the way?
No, but I've heard that she's plummeting.
Yeah, let me look at that. Of course, it's not actual poll results. Let me tell you guys what the poly market odds are right now. Let's pull that up. Whoa. Yeah, that's different. That's different.
Oh.
54.6 to 44.8. Wow. What do you think? What do you think is causing this? Is it the 60-minute, or is it just because it's a betting odds thing? As we get closer to the election, they start to more closely represent what people think is actually going to happen.
Harris and Walz have been on a media run as of late, and it is not going well.
It's not good. It's not good.
It's not going well at all.
When did this start to really shift? October 5th. October, 5th and 6th is when the lines really diverged and started heading upwards. Where it really curved is back on September 19th, is where Trump bottomed out and has started heading up since then.
Well, and think about Trump went back to Butler.
Yeah, had that whole thing.
And looks like the appeals court is going to completely throw out that lawsuit and the clips going around about that. So it's looking like Trump's not really a bad guy.
Not a bad guy. That's good. I'm glad they ruled that.
Yeah.
That's good. Okay. Number 7, moving swimmingly here. You thought that 11 was a lot, but we're 34 minutes into the episode and we're on number 7.
Yeah, we're getting there.
You know,
we're finally going to optimize Dumb Bleep of the Week.
We talked about this some yesterday. Walt's saying the Electoral College needs to go. I just thought it was interesting, though. The campaign says that that's not its position. And I wonder if we can get an interview with the campaign. I would like to talk to the campaign.
Yeah.
Because we keep having these people go out, these two yahoo, these jabronis going out there and
saying things
and just saying
that
stuff
don't align with the campaign.
But they're apparently not speaking for the campaign.
Yeah.
So I need us. Can we get a spokesperson for the campaign to do some actual interviews here so we can know what the campaign's position is?
Not the presidential or vice presidential nominee. Those are not spokesmen for the campaign.
No, I want to know what the campaign thinks about this.
Is there like a disclaimer before they go to a rally or interview that says,
the campaign doesn't endorse this?
Views expressed are solely this person's own and does not reflect
the views of the campaign.
The views of the campaign. There's got to be one of those disclaimers out there, I think. Oh, God. This is good.
We don't even have to talk anymore.
You can't make this stuff up.
That's a good clip. We don't have to do anything else about this.
You can't even make this stuff up.
This is good. I brought a whole thing in, but we just did it right there. All right,
number 8. All right,
got a Hillary Clinton clip, and boy, they've been saying the quiet part out loud a lot lately, which is interesting. But she is worried about how we don't have enough censorship for them to have total control. And we live in a day and age where you just go and say that on the news.
And it's totally fine. And people praise it.
It's weird.
We should be, in my view, repealing something called Section 230, which gave, platforms on the internet immunity because they were thought to be just pass-throughs, that they shouldn't be judged for the content that is posted. But we now know that that was an overly simple view, that if the platforms, whether it's Facebook or Twitter X or Instagram or TikTok, whatever they are, if they don't moderate and monitor the content, we lose total control. And it's not just the social and psychological.
If they don't monitor the content, we lose total control.
That is scary for democracy. Let me tell you what.
Yeah.
If they lose total control, Hillary Clinton, who's not in the government at all, if she loses, yeah, we know about that.
She's not in the government.
Man, I tell you what, I got on what was it? Because I was listening to Joe Rogan or whatever is that when they were, no, it was the Elon Musk interview with Tucker, and they mentioned the Epstein Island thing being one of the reasons that people are fighting so hard against them, maybe even reasons people are trying to take him out. I think maybe Bill Gates is behind this whole thing, I think they don't want the Epstein stuff released.
Yeah.
I don't know if Trump's going to release it. I guess maybe he's said before that he would. Of course, he knew Epstein, had been on the plane, I'm pretty sure. But, I guess he's pretty confident that he's not on the tapes. But they got tapes. There's tapes.
Yes.
What's her name? Maxwell went to prison because they were able to prove that she was like organizing this whole thing. But they got the thing that was organized. They got to have a list of names. They got tapes and stuff that they took.
They got books and records.
And they're just not going to do anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell you what,
I wonder if Diddy's tied to this whole thing too.
That's as good of a reason as any to want to take him out, because it's good. This is probably a CIA operation to try and flip people and control them. I think it probably is.
When are we starting that conspiracy podcast?
Right now. We're doing it right now. So it's pretty wild. But anyway, that has nothing to do with the specific dumb bleep. The dumb bleep is
the important part is that she says if we can't regulate free speech of these social media companies, then they're going to lose control.
Total control. They're going to lose all their control.
Yeah.
All right, Charlie, you introduce this one.
All right, dumb bleep number 9. This is when Kamala Harris went on.
Kamala.
I don't care. I don't care.
Racist.
Whatever.
Jeez.
Kamala. Kamala. This is when Vice President Harris went on the Call Her Daddy podcast. Those of you that don't know, is basically I think it's mostly a, what would you call this? A feminist, pop culture, sex.
Yeah.
Just
like if you could take everything that you hate about women and put it into a podcast, it probably sounds like Call Her Daddy, I bet.
Yeah.
I
Some
bet
people in the
that's what
live
it
group
is.
call it a ho-cast,
Yeah.
a BJ podcast. So,
Well, those are fine. All right, so let's listen to the ridiculous clip that we have.
No.
Let's get to the beginning of it, though.
I want to pose this question more to you and the Daddy Gang, but one of the biggest conversations in this year's election
Daddy Gang
revolves around a woman's body.
Yep.
I want to take a moment, and can we try to think of any law that gives the government the power to make a decision
I know what you're going to ask.
about a man's body? Let's
No.
just pause.
No.
Is there any law?
No. No. It's no.
we've already debunked this. Yes, there is. So
There's numerous, actually.
yeah, there's several.
Yeah.
There's one in particular that's controlling over an entire man's body.
Yeah.
But
The whole body.
essentially they went on this garbage conversation, and of course they have to bring the most pressing issue, which is abortion, because it seems that most women, democratically speaking, want the right to be able to kill their child with no repercussions, which is strange. You see a lot in our culture now. People in general don't really want to take accountability at all. But women for sure are fighting for the right not to take accountability to murder their own child.
Yeah. Yeah. No restrictions.
They want no restrictions, and they're calling it healthcare, you know, which, by the way, in my opinion, is the same things the Nazis did to the Jews. They called it healthcare.
It's healthcare.
They were just experimenting.
It's
And
it's also weird. I thought when you were talking about what you see in society and all that, I think it's weird that in society, sometimes when a kid dies, like people get sad about that.
Yeah.
They like it's a bad thing. You know?
Not with abortion,
Not
though.
with this.
It's celebrated.
No, not this.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of strange, but I've seen people like they'll even talk about the children in Gaza and everything, like the women and the children. And I'm like, I mean, the kids dying, is that bad? Is that good? Or like, what am I supposed to believe here? I just don't know I don't know what the rules are of this conversation, you know?
Well, it seems as if they would have aborted those Palestinian kids.
That's fine.
It would have been fine.
Yeah. That would have been way
You know?
better. Would've been way
The
better.
live group's got it right. It's a thing called the draft. Every man, when they turn 18, has to sign up for selective service. Now, the draft hasn't been instituted, I think, since the mid-'70s. So it's not like people in our generation have been forced into active duty or forced into the service.
But we still have to sign up for it.
We still have to sign
And
up for
if
it. It's a law.
If a situation arose,
Yes.
that we get plucked without our consent, and they're like, "Hey, die,
Yeah.
die for me." You know,
You
we
have
really
to
want this
go.
oil.
Or we'll put you in a cage.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that seems like you're controlling a man's body with a law. Like that's the government controlling a man's body.
Not just his
It sorta
body,
feels
but his
that way.
movements,
Yeah.
his work, his trade, his livelihood, his family.
So people have tried to get rid of it. Like, let's stop selective service. Let's stop asking people to sign up for it. Well, they don't want to do that. Other people have said, well, let's have women sign up for it too. Well, they don't want to do that. And so it seems to be particularly men have to sign up for this. And if a situation ever comes up, they have the right to take you and send you, not just to force you to bring into your life the most joyous and fulfilling and purpose-driven thing that could ever happen to you ever. They're just going to kill you for whatever it is they screwed up. Just so you know,
Right.
like you didn't even do anything.
Yeah.
They screwed up something.
It's not like you get
And
a
you have to go
choice.
die.
It's like, well, yeah, I'll serve my country. I'll help run the computers or something.
Yeah.
No, they can put you on the front lines. Literally.
They soak up bullets. They've got this many bullets, which means
Like-
if we throw this many guys in front of them, they'll be out of bullets, and then we'll send these people through, and it's really just
Which, by the way,
numbers game.
I mean, that happened on D-Day. Like,
oh god.
if you want, the other thing to think about is that most of those guys that hit the beaches of Normandy,
Yeah.
were people who were forced to be there.
I've got PTSD just
And then
from
they were-
watching the beginning to Saving Private Ryan.
They were forced to hop out of the boats and run in the clear open. of German submachine guns.
I mean, it was bad. It was real bad. The other, there's other stuff.
One thing I didn't realize when I was looking into this is that 10 million men were drafted for World War II.
That's a lot.
And by the way, that the draft started, I think, a year prior to Pearl Harbor.
Did it?
So the U.S. was gearing up for World War II prior to being attacked. Yeah, that's what I found. But imagine that, 10 million dudes.
That's a lot of people.
Were drafted for World War II. And then think about all the guys that went to Vietnam. I mean, they instituted the draft there too. And it's, the draft started with Lincoln in the Civil War. So I can't remember. It wasn't called selective service back then. It was called something else, but that was the first law that was passed. So it's been like 160 years that the draft has been instituted in the United States, where the government can actually force you to put your life on the line.
Yeah. And die.
And as you mentioned, the thing that Republicans are forcing women to do is to birth a bundle of joy, what some would call a miracle.
Yeah.
But by the way, all the states that outlaw abortion still have exceptions for incest and rape and life of the mother. So, but it's like women, not all, but it seems like a lot of women in our culture, they want no consequences to just hooking up with whoever they wanted. You didn't have this problem a long time ago for the most part. And that's because women were extremely selective about who they would sleep with, because the consequences of that could be a child.
Yeah. And if you didn't want one,
and there was no control over that.
Yeah.
And then now you had birth control and then abortion. And it's like you had free range to just do whatever you wanted. And I think I'm not trying to sound like whatever his name is, Tate, but I do think it's worth investigating some of the changes in our culture and society. And I'm not just blaming women, because men, there's plenty of problems with men, but I think that's worth investigating the changes in culture due to some of the not only technological advances, but the lack of accountability for making certain decisions and what that's led to.
And especially whether or not we should repeal the 19th. All right. Let's get on to number 10. We got two more here. This is Jon Stewart talking about the First and Second Amendment. This was surprisingly dumb from Jon Stewart. I mean, he is a dumb guy, but sometimes he makes pretty good points about things. This is something else, talking about free speech and the right to own a gun and what that means. Here we go.
But at least the Constitution remains intact and is there to ensure that we have the First Amendment.
The Second Amendment is there to ensure that we have the First Amendment.
Guns don't protect our free speech. Our free speech is protected by the consent of the governed laid out through the Constitution. It's not based on the threat of violence. It's based on elections, organizing, referendums, a judicial system. Our social contract offers many, many avenues to remedy these issues and allows sides to be heard and adjudicated. Guns, from what I can tell, seem to mostly protect the speech of the people holding the gun.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So he completely misses the point of the Second Amendment, which I guess maybe is for hunting or something like that, or defending your personal property or whatever. But he says, we don't have guns so we can protect your right to free speech. You know, that's why we have elections.
Judicial systems.
We protect your free speech through the consent of the governed and through democracy and all of that.
But what happens when the governed no longer consents?
Yeah.
How do they make their voices be heard?
I would say the same way that they did back in old 1776.
And plus, follow his logic all the way down, and just let's assume he's right and say the only speech that's protected is the one holding the guns. It's like, okay, well, let's give all the guns to the government.
Yeah.
Now they're the only ones holding the guns, so their speech is the only one protected.
Now, do you have to worry about the consent of the governed anymore?
Right.
That's not the case. We've gone so far from the principles and why certain things are in the Constitution. Talked about this time yesterday with the Electoral College and everything. Like, why did we have senators that were nominated by the states themselves and not by the people? Like, all of these principles and the way the government was formed, like we've gone so far away from all of these things in just a conversation about them, that you're able to sit there and like gaslight and lie and make stupid statements about this, and people laugh about it and they clap and all that. But yeah, we have the right to own a gun. So if the government becomes too tyrannical, we can throw off such government and establish a new.
Just go back to the Declaration of Independence.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's why we have it. And so it protects all of the other amendments because if the government becomes too tyrannical, yes.
It starts out by saying the necessity for a free state. I'm sorry, I'm botching it now. I usually know it. But not necessity. It is necessity. I'm just going to look it up for you.
The Second Amendment?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the first line tells you why it's established.
Mm-hmm.
And it's necessary.
You're going to tell me why we have to regulate the militia? Is that what it is?
Sorry, being necessary to the security of a free state.
Yeah.
The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So what is the people keeping and bearing arms is necessary to the security of a free state?
Against the federal government.
Against
yes.
Against government. And then you can go back and read the Federalist and Anti-Federalist papers, and they explain exactly why. It was literally to thwart a tyrannical government. You all know that.
Everyone here knows that.
I'm
That's dumb bleep number 10. Let's get to a number 11.
And as Bailey said, I feel like a viewing of The Patriot would fix this.
Oh, a viewing of The Patriot fixes a lot of things.
It does.
You know, solves a lot of problems.
Mm-hmm.
This is a nice little gaslighting episode, basically from Salon about Trump. And it turns out Trump talking about his assassination attempts is bad. And it's fueling the MAGA hatred. And so him talking about the fact that people have tried to kill him 2 times is dangerous. Actually, he's the guy who almost got assassinated 2 times is making things more dangerous by talking about the fact that he almost got assassinated 2 times, and that's why he's a danger to democracy and must be stopped.
Yeah. I mean, Susan, I just want you to know, Nate, that Susan is a threat to college athletes everywhere trying to pursue their hopes and dreams by talking about the fact that she was sexually assaulted twice.
No, you don't want to do that.
By a college athlete.
No, you don't want to do that.
So
that's making it dangerous. You don't want to do that.
You want to know how you stop Trump from talking about assassination attempts? You don't try to assassinate.
You don't try to kill him.
You don't let the event take place.
You don't want to do that. Here's a little quote from the Salon article. Trump and his cronies are trying to turn tragedy into political capital and stoke the flames of political division, all the while saying that it is the Democrats who need to take responsibility for their overheated rhetoric. I mean, the last guy who was going to kill him literally was just parroting Democrat talking points. I mean, literally. The first guy, okay, we still don't know anything about that, which is weird.
Seems like his stuff was wiped.
It's weird. Super weird that we don't know anything. The second one, like, yeah, he literally has been watching like Joe Biden press conferences and decided he was going to try and kill Trump. He's been reading Democrat press releases and decided he was going to try and kill Trump. He watched the J6 hearings and decided he was going to try and kill Trump. That is the case. And so, yeah, at least that one was because of the overheated rhetoric from Democrats. The first one, don't really know. Not really sure who this guy is. We could speculate. I'm sure he's got plenty of friends in the CIA that would love to hear our thoughts on that, but we're not going to give them to you. Okay. But yeah, it's Trump's fault. And this whole, it's the Darvo thing, really. I mean, it's reverse victim offender right here is what's happening.
Exactly.
And it's crazy to watch it happen and to watch them gaslight on this whole thing. Like, dude, he is the one that was almost killed twice. You know what it's like I don't know what it's like to go out there. Like we both played shows in front of people, you know, a bunch of people out there. I don't think one of them had a sniper rifle was going to try and kill us. You know, I don't think
it's happened before, though.
An AK or an AR. I don't think one of them had that. And so
old Dimebag Darrell from Pantera got shot on stage and died. That's how he died.
How about that?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Who goes to a show to do that kind of, what a waste of a ticket, you know?
I don't know.
That's crazy. I actually didn't know that.
You didn't know that? Yeah.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Huh. How about that? That is crazy. But to go out there in front of people.
Which made Pantera more famous.
To go out there and to know, I remember when he died. I just didn't remember that part.
Yeah. No, he was shot on stage at a show.
To know that anywhere out here, there could be someone who wants to kill you today because you are who you are. First off, it takes a lot of guts to go out there in front of a bunch of people again. I honestly think so. Like, you are trusting that the Secret Service is going to fully 100% do their job this time because people clearly want you dead. They really want you dead. That could just be an individual nutcase. Could be the CIA. Could be Iran. Could be. It seems like that talking point has worked on Trump, by the way, because that's who he mentioned on that Andrew Schultz. Yeah, it could be Iran. Could be he ran.
He ran.
There's no way.
They ran.
No one knows. Okay. It seems like he bought into that talking point. That is who he listed when Andrew Schultz asked him several times about who he thought was behind it. So they're working on that war right now. I'm telling you. You heard it here first. And by first, I mean right after the first assassination attempt, right as soon as they mentioned that Iran was trying to assassinate Trump or have people that were out there trying to assassinate him, this is a play to get him to bite on the war this time. They're clearly gearing up for that with everything that's going on between Israel and Iran right now. Just saying. Mm-hmm. I don't think Trump is going to have no wars started in his term this time if he wins. And this will be a bad one.
Unless he might have other information and he's playing into the game.
Yeah, that's possible. Anyhow, terrible gaslighting from Salon. Absolute ridiculous. He is the one who was almost killed 2 times. And if he wants to freaking talk about it, then he can talk about it. Yeah. Okay? That's fine. Can't say it's too dangerous. Let his voice be heard. All right, let's get your votes in. Let me see what we got. Number 1 was climate change and meth. I want to go back to the good old days where you could just do meth on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
You know?
And not die.
It was so much safer back then. But now these days with climate change, gosh, they're really trying to get the meth vote for the climate change funding. Okay, number 2 was price gouging from Kamala. Number 3, the photo ops, also having to do with Kamala. Number 4,
I would say it also includes, Trump and everybody else who does photo ops.
It's really people.
Yeah.
I guess we need to clarify that again. Why do people need to see this from their elected representatives? You're watching them do something that is fake. You know that they are not actually helping. They're actually making it worse. They're making it harder. That task of putting the toothbrush in the Ziploc bag and then giving it to the person to the right of you right there. They made that harder and slower that day.
The things that actually help is the things that you don't, that aren't on camera and aren't displayed by the campaign.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there are times like Trump will go into a restaurant and pay for everyone's meal, but it's not, he does it kind of secretly, and that's actually a good deed.
I mean, you're still hoping someone catches it on camera,
I don't know.
When you do
I don't know. When you hear stories that other people talk about, it's not something that Trump puts in the campaign. You kind of hear you hear stories of other people talking about his generosity that he doesn't really put on display.
Mm-hmm.
But then there are other times where he definitely does photo ops. I mean,
yeah,
it's kind of like part of the script.
What you want to see, I thought you were going to go with if you want to help the hurricane victims, you want to make sure that there's not, if you're running a system that has somehow taken control over how all of these relief operations operate, and you are running that system or a part of that system, you want to make sure that it's as efficient and logical as possible. You know, Elon Musk told this story when he had a little dust up with Pete Buttigieg, that they were trying to drop off Starlink terminals and generators to people, but they couldn't because there's a FAA regulation that says that if you're going to land somewhere, you have to know the name of the person that you're meeting when you land down there, and you got to know the address. And like, you got to have, if you're meeting someone down there on the ground to give them a terminal and a generator, you got to know all of that person's information before you can do that. Well, that person can't call out to you. They have no communication. And so it's impossible then, because of FAA regulations, for the helicopter to land and give that person the way to communicate.
So ridiculous.
Okay? And so if you want to help, get rid of those stupid government roadblocks and inefficiencies that exist in that entire system. That's a good way to do it. Okay, what were we talking about? Oh, we're just going through the dumbs right now.
Yeah. Number 4.
We just did more episode.
We did.
Could have clips from that.
Yeah.
Wow. Number 4, Chicago Schools Mayor Brandon Johnson says that the people who don't want him to take out a $300 million high interest short-term loan are just like slaveholders. Number 5, the reparations advocacy group, you know, you take money from people for reparations and then you just fight for reparations afterwards. Number 6, the 60 Minutes edit. Number 7, Waltz on the Electoral College and the campaign. That was actually my favorite part so far of this episode.
Saying it's not.
It's not the campaign's position.
No, we don't agree with that. He doesn't speak for the campaign.
He doesn't speak for the campaign. I'm going to pee my pants on this. Number 8, Hillary Clinton. They're worried if they can't censor, they'll lose control. Number 9, call her daddy, laws controlling a man's body. Number 10, Jon Stewart, Second Amendment doesn't protect the right to free speech. And number 11, Salon says Trump, it's too dangerous for Trump to talk about.
Get your votes in. This thing's spread thin here. So
let's get those votes in.
There's a lot of good dumbs this week. It's hard to decide.
Yeah, there's a lot of dumb stuff.
All right. Do all the things Nate said at the beginning, which is subscribe to the show, smash that follow or subscribe button or the little bell to make sure that you get every single episode downloaded, so that when you're driving in your car and you're like, what should I listen to next? It's there right in front of your face. And you're like, oh yeah, this is my favorite show. I forgot almost somehow, but now I remember because you've downloaded that thing. Go follow us on all the social medias, YouTube, Rumble. You can watch the video on Spotify now. There's X. Facebook is still a thing. We're there.
Kind of.
Yeah. We
there.
have a presence there.
Yeah, we do exist on there. You can see our post from last month.
Yeah. Instagrams. You know,
same.
All those things. So
I haven't been on Instagram in months.
Go to all the links in the show notes to support the sponsors that support the show. Go to GodHatesFeds.com to join the Fed Haters Club or join GML.com. Looks like I mean, wow, this is close.
I know. I want the votes. Tell you what, if you're still here and you voted for number 8, 9, 10, or 3, pull your vote and go to either Climate Change and Meth or Waltz on the Electoral College. Those are the only 2 options. We just did
ranked choice
voting for Dumb Bleep of the Week. I want to see
what's your second choice.
What's getting pushed over the hill here? It's going to be Climate Change and Meth. Dumb Bleep number 1.
That's
who wins. There you go. Calling it.
Not meth and climate change. Climate change and meth.
Climate change and meth.
All right, y'all. If you enjoyed it, do all the things I said. If you don't, I don't really care. If you do, that would be lovely because Nate would like that.
I would.
And if you do, we'll be back again on Monday. Hope you have a good day, a good weekend, and a good morning, Liberty.